In 1995, developer LucasArts released the first official Star Wars shooter, Dark Forces, for DOS and Mac, with a PlayStation port a year later. The first chapter of hero Kyle Katarn, Dark Forces, while well received, was labeled a Doom clone by many, even though it did a few things Doom couldn't do visually and gameplay-wise. I've played it before, but I just thought it was okay. However, with the release of its sequel, Jedi Knight, in 1997, everything changed. Not just visually, but fans of Star Wars could do something they've wanted to do for a long time: truly become a Jedi Knight. Kyle Katarn discovers that he is one with the Force and builds his own lightsaber. Now, players could wield the fabled Jedi weapon in 3D, as well as have access to amazing Force powers, both from the light and dark side. There was even an expansion released a year later, Mysteries of the Sith, that gave players control of one of the best expanded Legends characters ever, Mara Jade. Needless to say, the game was a huge success. It would be 4 years before another chapter in the Katarn saga would be released, but this time development reins would be handed to Raven Software, famous for the Hexen series, itself a popular shooter of the time. Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, which I guess is Dark Forces 3, was released on March 26, 2002 for Windows, to fantastic reviews. Of course, this meant that console ports weren't too far behind, and the following November, Jedi Outcast did hit the big green, with developer Vicarious Visions handling the port. But the big question is, does the fluid lightsaber combat that you get with a mouse and keyboard translate well to a controller? Well, there's only one way to find out. Taking place 8 years after Return of the Jedi and 2 years after Mysteries of the Sith, we find our hero Kyle Katarn and his partner Jan Ors investigating an abandoned Imperial base on the planet Kejim. When they arrive, they discover that the base is indeed operational and full of stormtroopers. When they find that the Empire was studying crystals that are similar to powering lightsabers, they head to a mining colony turned Imperial stronghold. While taking out their operations, Kyle and Jan run into Dasan, a dark Jedi, and his apprentice Tavian. They kidnap Jan, and Kyle tries to fight back, but is easily defeated, mostly due to him forsaking his Jedi ways. Now, in order to save Jan and defeat Dasan, and stop his evil plans, he must accept his Jedi destiny once again. The Jedi Knight stories have always been good in my opinion, and Jedi Outcast certainly doesn't disappoint. Kyle Katarn is a great character with a compelling story, something that will bum you out when you find that all of his adventures were swept away under that Legends rug. Still, traveling the galaxy and meeting up with a few familiar faces is quite nice. Shame this series wasn't really made into a film trilogy or something. Disney, if you're digging for ideas, here you go. Unlike the previous two entries, Jedi Outcast continues with the familiar first-person shooting you've come to love, going from stage to stage, spanning numerous planets and killing any Imperial scum that gets in your way with a variety of blasters and detonators, with some occasional key hunting and platforming. Something that, to this day, is something I could never handle in a first-person shooter, especially if the controls are slippery. As someone who has never in my life been great at playing a game with a mouse and keyboard, I have to say that after playing the Big Green port, there's no other way to play Jedi Outcast. Not that a controller is bad, it's just when it comes to platforming, sometimes an analog stick isn't the best way to land tricky jumps, which can lead to cheap deaths. Thankfully, though, you can save anywhere. This also leads into the next thing I want to mention: lightsabers. The first couple of missions, Jedi Outcast plays like the first Dark Forces, just blasting your way through enemies. Once you meet up with Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, you begin the trials to relearn the Force and retrieve your lightsaber, turning the game into third person. Once you get the lightsaber, swinging and deflecting shots, you'll hardly go back to blasters, unless you really need to, like sniping someone far away. Unfortunately, using a lightsaber with an analog stick just isn't as precise than with a mouse. Granted, no matter what version you play, it just ends up being you wailing your saber around like an inflatable tube man, but at least the more complex moves are easier to handle with a mouse. Again, it's still doable on a controller, just not as good. But I can't lie, the combat in this game has always been fun to me. What is great, though, is the variety of force powers you learn. As you progress, you'll earn and strengthen various abilities based in both the light and dark side, such as speed, push and pull, healing, grip, lightning, jump, and saber throw, which depletes your force meter, though it does refill on its own. You'll also learn different stances for saber combat like standard, fast, and strong styles, as well as new combos, which comes in handy when fighting the Dark Jedi that just appear out of nowhere. Besides the controls, there isn't much to get aggravated with, save for a few times where the game may throw you into a hairy situation and get you killed. But come on, death traps were a big part of these games back in the day. Not to leave out one of the best things about Jedi Outcast, the Xbox version does include multiplayer for up to 2 people split screen, with the option to add bots. Odd that this didn't have Xbox Live, considering Live was out at the time, but what are you gonna do? You can choose from a big selection of characters from the game that are unlocked, with options to customize saber colors, power sets, and more. For modes, it's your standard free-for-all, team deathmatch, capture the flag, and duel modes. It's not as big as the PC version, but it's still fun for you and a friend, or if you just want to unleash your inner Jedi on a bunch of AI bots. Visually, Vicarious Visions did a pretty good job porting Jedi Outcast over to the big green. Each environment the stages take place on look very close to their film or book counterparts like Bespin and Yavin. Meanwhile, the character models, while they may have some goofy facial expressions by today's standards, still impress. Although it's a little weird that while the cutscenes were in-game on the PC, here they're compressed FMVs.
Ah, Jedis. I had no ideas. What can I do for you, honored Jedis?
I'm no Jedi. I'm just a guy with a lightsaber and a few questions.
Of course. Many peoples have them.
Lightsabers?
Questions. How about a ruby blade?
Corellian ale and a clean glass.
Of course, sirs.
In the sound department, the music is mostly of the classic trilogy score by John Williams, so, fantastic. As for voice acting, not bad at all. Everyone puts in some great performances, including Bob Bergen, who's done the voice for Luke in many a Star Wars game.
Track down the registry of Dassan's ship to a Rodian named Relo Baruch.
Relo Baruch?
You know him?
Not personally. He claims to be an honest garbage hauler, but he's really one of the most powerful criminal kingpins in all of Nar Shaddaa. Even the Hutts won't touch him.
Sounds like a solid lead.
It'll do.
Kyle.
Yeah?
I just wanted to say how impressed I was with your performance in the trial. Considering how long it's been since you used the Force, I almost expected you to fail outright.
Well,
You've been to the Valley of the Jedi.
yes.
Jedi Outcast was, and still is, one of the better Star Wars games to come out in the past couple of years, on the PC. But does the big green port hold up? Absolutely. If you're a collector of Xbox or a big Star Wars fan that just doesn't want to deal with playing on a PC, this port is still pretty good to play, despite the few problems it has. Even though Jedi Outcast is one of my favorite Star Wars games, the only thing that really bothered me with this game is that even though you had all the makings of a Jedi, it still felt more of a shooter than a Jedi simulator. However, around 1 year later, Raven Software themselves developed the Xbox version of the next installment of Kyle Katarn's story, Jedi Academy. But we'll come back to that one a little later. For now, this is the Dali Popka saying, as always, stay green, my friends. I'll see you next time.
Kyle, the evac ships are standing by. Just keep those prisoners alive.
I'm on it.
Yeah.